Hello and welcome to Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. You're watching Morning Brew. Hello, everybody. Is my name going to work? No, my name's not going to work. So I'm just going to have to do this and do this, and then my name will come up. My name will come up. My name will come up. Oh, for God's sake! I'm having one of those mornings. Clearly having one of those mornings this morning, where nothing quite goes to plan. But that's okay. And now my phone is just turning itself on and playing an advert. Oh, because I had it on this channel. So this is my own advert. I'm watching my own advert here. There you go. There's me. There's me on the screen. Okay, cool. Yeah. Surprise, Graham. Hello. Good morning. I'm thinking of doing this. I'm thinking of moving Morning Brew on Sundays to 11 o'clock so we can discuss things after I've been on the, someone has been on the Politics X channel, Alex's channel, talking about whatever we were talking about with me and Alex and Liz. So hello, everyone. Hello, everyone in the chat. Hope you're having a great, I've got that song by Franz Ferdinand, Do You Wanna? I've got that stuck in. Is that the name of the song? I don't even know. I've got that. That one. I've got that stuck in my head. Someone pointed out that one of Taylor Swift's new songs on her new album sounds a lot like Beverly Hills by Weezer. And there's another song that sounds like another song by Weezer as well. I think she's been cribbing Weezer. I think Weezer need to have a word with Taylor Swift and say it's Taylor Swift, not Weezer Swift. Anyway, write on a bit of paper and hold it up. Where's that Graham fella, says Politics Social. Turn it off and on again. I'll get a 4-year-old to help or take that. It just about computers just took ages to boot up this morning. I don't know. Sometimes it does. It just sits there for ages saying, press F2. Go on. Press F2 to go to boot options. So press F2. Go on. You know you want to. Do you remember back in the 90s when we had our 286s, 386s, 486s? We needed to play Doom. And at the beginning, it had a memory check, and it used to go tick, 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 and it used to tick up the memory. And when it got to 8 megabytes, it was like, right, memory check, okay. And you had to have that every time you turned the computer on. Never happened in 24, did it? It never happened in 24 where they're like, oh my God, the bomb's got to go off. Oh, quick, open the laptop. And they open the laptop, and it's like, Windows update. And they're like, Windows is updating, shit. Could you imagine? Oh God, the world blows up while they wait for Windows to stop bloody updating. Although on this computer that I'm using at the moment, it is still on Windows 10, support for which is going to run out apparently on October the 14th. I was told we were getting an extension, but maybe not. Maybe we're not. Maybe they're going to force us to go to Windows 11, which I don't like. I don't like Windows 11. Not all boomers, says Tiz. Not all boomers. Not all boomers. That's what we should call the show, shouldn't we? Should we get a boomer on? It should be me and me mum, right? Because she's a boomer, right? So how about a show? And it's a live stream, and it's me and my mum having a political discussion, and it's called Not All Boomers, because my mum's right on. My mum's, proper left wing, family come from working class stock, working down the docks. My grandfather was a docker, and he was in the Navy during the war. Lovely man, and my mum grew up in Brule in North Liverpool, which is quite a impoverished area of the city. So yeah, I've got that'll be good to hear from someone who's a boomer who doesn't think that everyone should be deported for being the wrong colour. Now let's talk about people being deported for having the wrong colour, because Kemi Badenoch's credible plan. Can we talk about this? Okay, I'm going to sound pretty incredulous. Is that even a word? Incredulous, that's the word. I'm going to sound pretty incredulous this morning because she said yesterday that she wants to deport 750,000 people. Who? There's not 750,000 people who are here illegally. Like they've outstayed their visa, or they've been turned down for the case for asylum. They've been turned down and they've stayed here anyway. Like there's not 750,000 people in those categories. And where will they go? Okay, let's get into this. So her quote was, they will go back to where they should do or another country, but they should not be here. Not here, not there, not anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, Kemi Badenoch's immigration policy, written by Dr. Zeus. What the hell? I mean, seriously, what the hell? This is not satire. This is an actual quote. This is a live interview on live television of Kemi Badenoch, who is circling the drain right now. CTD. She is circling the drain as far as being leader of the Conservative Party. I was going to give it to the end of the year. I don't think she's even going to last that long. Seriously, I think this conference is just going to be the end of her. So what's going to happen is degenerate is going to run around the conference, getting people on side. He only needs about fucking 12 letters to go into the 1922 committee to force a leadership election. And or vote of no confidence, which leads to an election. But it used to be 50. They used to need 53 or 54 letters because it's a proportion of how many MPs they had. But since they got so few MPs now, you only need a handful of letters. So he'll be running around talking to his two mates, saying, "No, we need to get rid of it. We need to get rid of it." And they're going to get rid of it. And the worry with Generic is, right, so here's the thing. I kind of now want a decent leader of the Tories who can actually pull back some of their votes that they've lost to refuck, because I want the Tories and refuck to split the right-wing vote, okay? So that allows left-wing parties to do a lot better in the next election, right? But at the same time, Generic has mooted, going in with refuck. I mean, I can see a team up between the Conservatives and refuck, and that is a worry. That is a worry. I don't want Keir Starmer each week having to stand up and have to do PMQs against Nigel Farage as the leader of the Reform Conservative Party, or the Conservative Reform Party, whatever they decide to call themselves. Not all boomers, says Peter Music. Graham, the BIOS still does a memory check, but you never see it as it's that quick. Yes, that's a good point. Well done, Chris. You're absolutely right. By the way, if you'd like to join our beautiful friends in the chat here, all you need to do is hit the big juicy subscribe button and wait for about a minute, and you'll be able to subscribe. I'll tell you what. I was just on a little aside here. I was just on the Sunday roast, right, with Alex and Liz, right, and there were people in the chat who were muted on this channel, right, so they can watch me if they want to watch me. They can watch from the wardrobe, but they can't actually comment. They can't actually tell me what to do, or in which order to do it. And I like that because, oh my god, the toxicity of just one or two people in the chat who are just there for a fight, who are just there to say, I hate this person who's on this channel. I'm like, fuck off then. Like, seriously, there's 1,000 other channels to watch, which obviously have better people on for you to watch. Why wake yourself up in the morning and just get angry that someone's doing a stream that you don't like? Like, what the fuck? I can't understand the mentality. And it's sort of like, oh, you're a big hypocrite, Graham, because you said to vote for Labour, and now you're saying you said you voted for tactical. You said for tactical voting, and I'm like, yes. It was called Labour Social, this channel. I changed it to Politics Social so I could promote, well, one of the reasons, the other was so I could criticise Labour once they were in power, but one of the big ones was so I could promote tactical voting, which I, unfortunately, because of the first past the post system, and anyone with just an inkling of knowledge about the way the political system works in this country, we have to have tactical voting if we're going to keep the bad guys out. The number one priority last summer was to get the Tories out. After 14 years of absolute dire governance, get them out of here. And you know what? Like, Labour, God, we've talked about it to death on this channel, and we'll talk about it some more. We will dig it up. We will revive it like some latter-day Frankenstein, and we will talk about it some more, because Labour is fucking up left, right, and centre. But there is some good stuff that Labour are doing. And I stand with Phil on this particular matter, and I don't necessarily agree with him about policy decisions and stuff like that. But on this, I might only get 50% of what I want from a Labour government, but I'm going to get 0% from a Tory government. I'm going to get less than zero from a refuck government. Like, at least I'm getting a little bit of what I want. And even Femi, who, dear friend of mine fucking hates Starmer. Like, he really does not like Keir Starmer in any way, shape, or form. He did a review of Starmer's speech, which at the conference this week, which I thought was a pretty good. You know, there were a few moments where I thought, oh, you got a bit far there, Femi, to refer to things that maybe didn't happen, or you know that Starmer said X Y Z X many years ago, or whatever. But generally speaking, there were moments in the speech where Femi was like, yeah, that's a good policy. Yeah, can't knock that. Because Femi's a fair-minded political commentator. And I like to think that I am, to some extent, at least. And if I'm presented with a policy and I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about this, and then I'll do a bit of digging and see if it helps people or hurts people. If it hurts people, I'm not going to be for it. It's as simple as that. But I'm not an absolutist. I don't want, I'm not going to demand 100% of what I want or I'm leaving. Because honestly, that way madness lies. Like the idea that we have these purity tests and this, the interaction I had with Owen Jones a few years ago at the Labour conference, where he had to go at me for not voting Labour every single election of my life, and I'm like, I didn't just vote against them in the past. I've actually stood against them in the past as an independent candidate, and he was just enraged about this because it offended this sense of purity, right? These purity tests. And I'm sick of them. They are rocket fuel for fascism. If we keep on being gatekeepers of who we allow in, if we keep shouting at people who said the wrong thing once, or I'm not talking about necessarily politicians here, I'm talking about like political commentators or people who just want to talk about this stuff and might be able to be brought on side. The old trope stands that the right look for converts, the left look for traitors. And it was really evident. And I just want to say a big thank you to the people who follow this channel and come on here each day in the chat for being respectful and not being knobheads. Thank you. Genuinely thank you. Because I know we've got some great mods in there, like One Angry Pagan and Diz and others, who will come down like a ton of bricks, Vegan Elite, who will come down like a ton of bricks on people who are being twatty. It's not necessarily about like having a debate, which is fair enough. And obviously we don't agree on everything. And I'm sure that if I say something about Labour doing its sort of softly catchy monkey approach, joining the EU eventually, that Nick's going to jump in and go, hey, Graham, what the fuck? Why aren't they rejoining tomorrow? I get it. But like, Nick isn't disrespectful. Nick isn't giving me shit. And even BUFU Mike, who can be a little bit like cantankerous, is that the right word? I don't know. Can be a little bit confrontational at times, tends to be respectful in the whole. And I mean, I've never felt the need to say, oh no, I'm going to have to mute BUFU Mike for disagreeing with me. It's not about disagreeing with me. I don't mind that. What I do mind is ad hominem attacks and having to go at other people in the chat for not holding your particular policy, above all others. There's a whole vast swathe of things that need to be fixed in this country, and we're not going to fix them if we're all or nothing. And absolutism it's the way of the Sith. It's the way of the Sith. And also, kings in the Middle Ages. Chaos Druid, thank you for being a member for 1 month. Keep up the good work. Thank you for the membership. Thank you. You are the best. You are the absolute best. Thank you, the Chaos Druid, for being part of the channel. And also, we've got Paula in here. Paula. We were all thinking it, but you said it. Thank you for the super chat. Where is Kemi going to expel herself to? Very good question. Very good question, Paula, my friend. Very good question. Richard Grumbygit, the multi-account person, had a go at me for saying pretty much the same thing. I was very grumpy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And One Angry Pagan saying absolutism is a fallacy. I know. And this is why there's got to be a bit of give and take. And do you know who's absolutist? Refuck. They're absolutists. They won't work with anyone else. And that's why they'll be, if they ever do get into government, they'll be so shit at it. It'll be painful. All they'll do is destroy stuff. All they'll do is take things away from people, like their rights and their dignity and their liberty. They won't be able to actually give anything to anyone because they don't have the. First of all, they don't have the wherewithal or the will to do that. But secondly, I mean, the organizational skills that it requires, getting people on side, doing those select committees, looking into stuff with cross-party approval for certain things, which happens, you know? Witchy is streaming later. Yay, Witchy Goth, cool. I'm having pork scratchings for breakfast. Oh, breakfast of champions, Ian. I love it. Well done, mate. Listen, we're going to talk a little bit about Kemi Badenoch because I just think this is fucking hilarious. And then we're going to do the papers. And then if there's anything else you want to discuss, we can discuss it. And then we're going to wrap up around 12 o'clock. Okay, if that's okay with you. That's the show. I mean, we're a good 16 minutes in, and I'm finally telling you what's going to happen in the show. If you got this far, I'm guessing you're going to stay, hopefully, for the long haul. But yes, this absurd headline that we had of Kemi Badenoch saying she was going to deport 750,000 people. This number came from nowhere. She plucked it from her ass. Like, this is not actually grounded in Home Office data. There are currently around 125,000 asylum seekers in the UK still awaiting decisions. And then visa overstayers account for about 40 to 60,000 people. So at the absolute maximum, there might be 200,000 people who could be deported for some reason, you know. Where she's got this, even if you threw in everyone who's in immigration limbo, rejected applicants, people appealing, and those who are undocumented, you wouldn't reach anywhere near 750,000. It is a boogeyman number. It is just and she's saying it because she knows. She knows. We know. She's not going to be leader much longer. She can say what the fuck she likes. That's why. You know, it's not real. It's pure political theatre. A shock headline for a dying party trying to look tough. And I often talk because you know this is sort of that I find fascinating. I'm not saying I'm a logistics expert. I am not. I can move myself around pretty swiftly if I need to, but I am fascinated by logistics. I am fascinated by the ability of humans to put 20,000 containers on one ship and they all get to where they're meant to go. That just blows my mind. That is just wonderful, beautiful complexity. Imagine a 20,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. Imagine the satisfaction you would get from completing that. And there is a satisfaction to be taken from seeing people do really, you know, put together really cool shit. This is why I follow woodworking stuff online, you know, on TikTok and YouTube. This is why I follow building stuff. I like watching people make stuff, cleaning things, taking apart old watches and cleaning them and putting them together. Honestly, I could watch it for hours. There is a satisfaction that could be taken from seeing someone do something, you know, complex and putting it all together. And logistics, worldwide logistics fits into that for me. And I know it's nerdy. I know it's like, but at the same time, I think it's fucking cool that, you know, the planes that fly around all the time. I know it's not great for the environment, but the logistics behind all those planes and all those airports and all those routes and all those people who are flying the planes, all the people who are organizing it, and how it all fits together, I find it endlessly fascinating. Okay, so I'm a big fan of logistics. I'm a big fan of the way that we make modern life work. Even like deliveries to supermarkets around the country is fascinating to me. I know that's sad. I know that's really sad. I know people are like, I thought you were cool, Graham. Here you are bragging about all the gigs and festivals you've been to, and it turns out you're quite interested in supermarket deliveries, really, actually. Well, no, I am, right? Logistics fascinate me. And so to see something like this, right, where you get this nutter saying we're going to deport 750,000 people, my brain just screams, like out my ears, out my eyes, out my nostrils, out my mouth. Logistics! How? How are you going to make it work? How, Kemi? How does this even work. We don't have the detention space for 2% of that number. The entire capacity of immigration detention centres in this country is around 3,000. 3,000. The prisons are full. Where are you going to put them before you send them away, Kemi? And this, the charter flights, they usually remove about 100 people each time. These charter flights, they're quite expensive, they're not cheap. The government has to charter planes. It's not like the government has a fleet of planes that they can use whenever they want. They have to charter them from private companies, and they charge the taxpayer for that. Before we go on, I'm going to say a big thank you to Chris C for a super chat. Thank you, Chris. That's very kind of you this Sunday morning. We are the mods. We don't negotiate. We don't explain. We just have a particular set of skills, and you're about to find out what happens when you mess with the stream. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, I think there's a big difference between us having disagreements on, issues or policies and things like that, which is fair enough. And this is a politics channel. Of course, there's going to be that. But when people are making it not pleasant for people to be in the chat, that's something that I do care a lot about. I genuinely want this, and this is why I don't chase the numbers. I don't chase the getting new people to be watching every week and that. I'd rather have a small number of people watching this channel who feel safe and feel free to voice their opinion or say what they want to say about stuff without fearing that someone else is going to go, "You're a fucking knobhead, you are. You fucking hypocrite. How dare you say that?" And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. We're supposed to be all on the same side, but I think there are a lot of CIA agents out there, messing things up from the inside. But yeah, so just go back to logistics, right? So charter planes, right? So 100 passengers each time. So if the government chartered, right, one flight per day, right, of 100 people, that would be 36,000 people a year. To deport 750,000 people, they would need 21 flights a day for 100 years. The logistics don't logic. They don't stick. They just don't work. I mean, what the fuck, love? I mean, I'm sorry. That's really patronising, I know. But there's something else which Paula touched on here. Like, does she really think that if she gives free rein to the racists to get rid of anyone they don't like the look of and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't have indefinite leave to remain anymore. We're pulling out the European Convention of Human Rights so we can deport you anywhere we want." Do you think they're going to stop? Do you think they're going to stop at her door? Do you think, "Oh, no, she's one of the good ones"? It's not racist saying it. Frank Bruno, he was one of the good ones, wasn't he? Remember that? I do. Yeah. John Barnes faced horrific racism on the stands at the footy. Away fans doing monkey chants, throwing bananas onto the pitch. This happened. But he was one of the good ones. Right? Racists will never be sated until there are no people who do not look like them left on this island. And that goes for not just people of different skin colour, but it goes for people who are different in some way. People who might have mental health problems, people who might be trans, people who might be gay or lesbian or bisexual. They get rid of us all. They absolutely would. They will not stop. They will not stop. You think if the Nazis had successfully killed all the Jews in Europe, do you think they would have stopped there? Do you not think they would have just gone, okay, right, who's next? Muslims? Protestants? Lutherans? Do you think? Because you know they would. They would. Because that's what Nazis do. That's what fascists do. That's what these right-wing motherfuckers do. They're racist scumbags. And they're no matter how... And I got a bit upset with Gary Stevenson last week when we were talking about the protests in London, the Tommy Robinson demonstration. with all of these wife beaters, criminals, sexual assaulters, rapists, embezzlers, just all down scumbags talking at this thing that he was doing, right? And Gary Stevenson's response was, well, this is because working class people are feeling, that they're feeling left behind, that they don't have much money, and so they decide to be racist. No, don't. No. I know hundreds of working class people who are not racist. I don't necessarily just hang out in some middle class clique, this bubble where everyone's lovely to each other all the time. I don't. I come from Liverpool. It is a city, pretty hard knocks, but we don't stand for racism in Liverpool. We have a few Nazis turn up at our station, and we force them into the left luggage kiosk. Or there'll be a situation where there'll be a few dozen Nazis outside St. George's Hall, and there'll be a few thousand anti-Nazis. We don't stand for this. And I think it's demeaning, and I think it's I really don't think that it's a good way of looking at it through an economic lens when people want to be racist, when people just want to be horrible. I'm sorry, Gary. I do like his stuff, but on that particular issue, no, I think he's dead wrong. Those people who marched were marching because they were racists, and they want all the black people out the country. They want all the brown people out the country. That is it. That is it. That's why they march. Because that is the defining policy of their life. Not them having a better life, or being able to afford their own house, or their kids getting a decent education, or even the health care that they receive at the end of their life. They don't give a shit about all that. Their number one policy thing that for them, for those 100,000 people who went to London, is racism. Is literally, they want Britain to be a country of white, ugly white people. Ugly, stupid white people like what they are. And I don't want that. I want beautiful people from all over the world to inhabit this country. I want it to be the country of the world. And I love that. I love I love the idea that I can go out and experience cultures from all over the world just by walking down the street. Fucking great. And if Britain sets itself up as a world power, this is the consequence of that. Okay, we are a world power. Great, cool. Bring the world here. Bring the world here. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I want a positive case for immigration, and I wish more people would start shouting that from the rooftops. Paula, hello, Paula. Paula has just dropped another super chat in. Thank you, Paula. That's very kind of you. On the container stuff, I remember a tour Southampton docks in 81 that included the computer system that allocated and arranging the loading. It was fascinating. Yes, when I was in Brisbane in 2011, right, I got to go up to was it 2012? We're in 2012 by then. When I was in Brisbane in 2012, I was at Brisbane docks and I was waiting to get on a container ship, and they let me go up into the control tower. So just like in an airport, they have a control tower. So you can go up and you can see down into the docks below you. And there was a sectioned off area with caution robots written all around it. And that area, no humans were allowed in that area. It was all done by robots, and the forklift drivers who used to pick up the boxes in rain, hail, and shine outside, very dangerous job, because if one of those boxes topples, if it's heavier than you thought it was going to be, or it's down on the dock, you can topple over and could cause serious injury. It is a very, very dangerous job, especially with other containers being moved at the time, and a bit of rust in one corner could mean it drops, and one of those hits you on the head, you're going to know about it. So they had a sectioned off area, and it was all robotic. And the guys who were controlling the robots were the old forklift drivers. So no one had lost their job in the automatization, the roboticization of the Brisbane dock area. And not all the containers were right for this, but and they were. That was fascinating. And watching the robots going around and doing their robot stuff was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Paula. Thank you for not making me feel too weird about liking logistics. And then just like anytime a politician says something mad, my first thought is logistics. Not just like, oh, that's racist, that's shit, that's a stupid idea, that's terrible, whatever, morally abhorrent. It's just like, logistics, though. Let's talk about the logistics, about how the fuck are you going to do this? And this is the way I feel about Elon Musk when he comes on stage and he says something mad like, we're going to go to Mars by 2025. And I'm like, bollocks you are, mate. It's my big argument against hydrogen. Logistics. Hydrogen's the smallest atom. It's number 1 on the periodic table. Good luck keeping it in something. You need to build things that are like 6 feet thick to keep this fucking stuff in, and then it'll still try and merge with. It's a lonely atom. It wants to create molecules with other atoms. It's gonna do stuff to the interior lining of whatever container you put it into. It's hydrogen. That's what hydrogen does. Oh, anyway, but yeah, we'll move it around in giant airships. It'll be great. We'll have cars with a big airship blimp on top of the car for all the hydrogen fuel, the highly explosive hydrogen fuel that they've got in a big blimp above the fucking car, which is constantly leaking because you just can't keep those little tiny hydrogen atoms in anything because they're hydrogen atoms. It's like trying to keep a fucking bag of neutrinos in your back pocket. Jesus Christ. Chris, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. This is how the Nazis started in the 1930s. Yep, you're absolutely right, mate. You're not wrong. You are not wrong, my friend. You are not wrong. And that's what's really worrying. Liz said this when we were doing the Sunday roast. But yeah, so 21 flights a day for 100 years. It's been worked out. And this is not a credible plan. This is just pure messaging. There's no paper policy, no costing, no bilateral deals. There's, not here is not a destination. Where are you going to send them, Kemi? Where are you going to send them? Or send them back to where they come from. What if the countries that you want to send them to say no? We don't want them. We don't want these people coming here. They've left. They don't want to be here. We don't want them back. What'd you do, Kemi? Where'd you send them? Send them to some other country? What did they say? No, don't want them. No. What'd you do? What'd you do? Are you going to send them all to the Falkland Islands, are you? 750,000 people to the Falklands, are you? Is that the plan? And these are people. These are like men, women, and children. Like, these are human beings just being treated like a commodity, being treated like a quota for cattle. Do you know what I mean? How disgusting is that? How horrible is that to be talking about actual human beings, fathers and husbands, brothers, sisters, cousins, grandmothers, grandfathers, daughters, sons, talking about people's families and saying, oh, well, we'll just get rid of that. We'll just get off they pop, just not here. They can be anywhere, but they just can't be here. And there's Kemi Badenoch. Kemi Badenoch, Ulu Kemi Badenoch, who fucking was born here, went over to Nigeria for her childhood, went to a very, very expensive posh school, private school, in Nigeria, and then came back and then had a job in McDonald's for a week and said, I understand the working class now. I'm like, I don't think you do, love. Sorry, I shouldn't say love. It's very patronising, but it's a Liverpool thing. Well, it's a northern thing, isn't it? All right, love. Anywhere else you say it, it's a little bit like, not here. Elsewhere. We're going to send them elsewhere. That's not a member of the UN. Kemi, that's not a member of the UN. And this is this is like we'll tidy the house by burning it down. This is, yeah. It's like why Brexit broke my mind so much was that it just couldn't possibly work. It just made no sense to me. It never made any logical sense. Forget about the emotion, forget about the politics. Just logical sense. It made none. We have about 30 or so advanced economies in the world, and nearly all of them are in Europe. And we're going, no, I'll be all right. We'll trade with Eswatini, We'll trade with East Timor, we'll trade with Ethiopia and Eritrea. And I'm thinking, I don't think this is going to go though. I will trade with Gabon, and the Sao Tome and Principe. We're going to get a great trade deal with Comoros. Here we go. Let's go over to the Caribbean and do something with St. Kitts and Nevis. Maybe we could have a Maybe you could have some kind of like quota system going with some in that. And I'm just like looking at it going, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Well, they wouldn't be able to name that many countries, but you know what I mean? Like, it made no logistical sense to me. It made no logical sense to me that we would turn our back on our rich, wealthy neighbors who had the money to buy the shit that we make, and we told them to fuck off in order to trade with poor people on the other side of the world who didn't have a fucking fag packet to rub between them. But somehow, we're gonna... Oh shit, I just demonetized this channel, didn't I? Oh, this stream. Damn it. Damn you, bloody Google Daddy, and your words that mean different things in different contexts in different countries. But yeah, we were going to trade with people with nothing on the other side of the world. What are we going to sell Nissan Qashqais? We're going to get some fucking share portfolio from the City of London and say, well, would you like to invest in the fucking City of London? Have you seen that the stock exchange, London Stock Exchange, has gone off a cliff? I don't think it's in the top 12 anymore of the world. That's because of Brexit. Anyway, so yeah, look, this is not go back to Kemi Badenoch for a moment, just for a moment, and then we'll move on. But like, this is not like going to solve immigration. If you want to stop people coming here, just stop issuing visas. The government issue visas. That's what they do. They issue visas. People apply to come here, and the government can say no. If it's bothering you that much, say no more. And Tory party is disintegrating, and she is clearly just doing this to save her leadership. It's nothing to do with solving immigration, Refuck chewing up the right wing votes. This is a stunt, Red meat for the GB News lot, And the problem with this, really, and this is going to be a problem for Kemi in the Tory party conference, which starts today. It's going to expose her weaknesses, not her strengths, at all. Doing this is just the maddest thing. Badenoch was once seen as the future of the Tory right, and now she's isolated. She's flailing. She's being reactive. The polls have got the Conservatives hovering between 12 and 15%, often behind Refuck. And, Badenoch's leadership approval is lower than Liz Truss's at the time of her resignation. And, this Tory party conference is going to be a fucking disaster. We know it's going to be an absolute disaster. We're going to see it. We're going to see it. We're going to see footage of empty halls like we did last year, and Kemi Badenoch basically talking to nobody. And behind the scenes, Robert Jenrick running around being a grubby little bastard, because that's what he is. It's Connie Stockheath, we should call him. Connie Stockheath running around, doing this absolute madness. Absolute madness. Thank you very much to One Angry Pagan for the £2 super chat. Critical path analysis, something Kemi can't grasp. Yeah. And Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Brexit had one objective, to keep the Tory party together, and it even failed to do that. Yeah, you're not wrong, Paula. You're not wrong. Yeah. I mean, the reason why they got Boris Johnson is because the party was falling apart. But yeah, he was an absolute bloody nightmare, as many people thought that they would be. Conversation with a relative, says Ann PJ 2006. I asked, we sell none of my company's products in Australia. Why was that? They said EU stops us. I said no, because there's no demand for our products. Simple. Yeah. But why would you want to sell to Australia? There's only 25 million people, or 28, I think now. 28 million people live in Australia. It's fuck all. I mean, New Zealand is less than 5 million people live in New Zealand. It's fuck all. And then you look at the Commonwealth. There's 56 countries in the Commonwealth now. That is an eye-wateringly high number of people in the Commonwealth. That is an insane, right? But you take out Canada and Australia and New Zealand and India and Britain, and you're left and you're left with 50 countries, right? 50 countries part of the Commonwealth, right? You add the GDP of all of those countries together, the GDPs of all of those countries together, it comes to less than the GDP of Germany alone. Just Germany. 50 countries that, if we started a EU style thing with the Commonwealth, great, super. I really would like to see more trade with Fiji and Tuvalu and Papua New Guinea and Gabon, as mentioned before, Rwanda, Mozambique as part of the Commonwealth now, great, let's have more trade. But the reality is we're not going to sell as much because people don't have as much money. And don't forget that money isn't just, concentrated in the hands of maybe 80 million people like what it is in Germany. No, we're talking about like hundreds of millions of people. And so each one of them per capita, it's a lot less. It's a lot less than the people of Europe who are just next door. And just pure, from a logistical point of view, it's a lot easier to send stuff to Paris than it is to try and send it to Papua New Guinea. It just is. It just fucking is. I once bought this magnificent hand-carved chess set from Kyrgyzstan, not Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, different country, from the capital, Bishkek. And it was a little pack, and it was a board, right? So it was a board. It was a leather board. It was beautiful. It was all hand stitched around the outside, and the squares were made of different coloured leather, depending on whether they were white or black. And then it folded up to make a case to put the pieces in, and all the pieces were hand carved. It was gorgeous, and I sent that to my then girlfriend in Australia from Bishkek through the post from a country that is like almost is it double landlocked? I think it is. I think it might be double landlocked. Kazakhstan, and it took months. I just imagine this little chess set on the back of a mule going through the Gobi Desert into Mongolia. And then it finally gets to Ulaanbaatar, and they're like, oh, and then they put it on an eagle's talons, and the eagle's flying. The eagles are coming. And it finally got, like, honestly, it was months and months later that it arrived because of economic gravity, because the reality of geography. And that's what it didn't surprise me too much that the advent of the Brexiters and the advent of the flat earthers came at sort of the same time. Flat earthism wasn't a thing since forever. Like, no one's ever believed the world was flat. People go, oh, people thought the world was flat before Christopher Columbus proved it wasn't. Fuck off. Are you mad? Do you think that the King and Queen of Spain spent millions of dollars, right, or pesetas, or whatever it was back then, on 3 ships, the Pinta and the Nino and the Santa Maria, on 3 Spanish fucking galleons to take some fucking Italian off the edge of the world? Do you think they would have done that? Do you think in the wildest dreams they would have gone, yep, here you go, have loads of money so you can sail off the waterfall at the edge of the world? No, they knew the world was round. They were trying to get to India the other way because they couldn't go through Indonesia. Oh, thank you. They couldn't go through Indonesia because the Dutch had that whole area wrapped up. There were gunboats everywhere. They couldn't get to the Spice Islands that way. They were trying to get the other way. They were trying to get to the west of India, the West Indies. Atlas, the fucking Greek god with the world on his shoulders. Did he have a flat map? Did he have an ordnance survey map unfolded? And he's like, how the fuck do I fold this up again? No, it was a globe. You go to these ancient temples all over the world, and any kind of representation of the planet, even though the countries are in the wrong place or whatever, it's always a fucking globe. But what happened with Brexit and what happened with this flat earthism? It's a denial of reality. It's a denial of geography. The basic geographical facts that make the world go round. Just one sec. I got so vexed then I dropped my pen. But don't debate with a flat earther. There's no point. It's like playing chess with a pigeon. It's just no point. They're just going to shit all over the table and the whole piece is over. But that is the same sort of mentality. It's the Michael Gove thing of we need to stop listening to experts. And it's this jealousy. It's this jealousy of people who know more than you. And like I said earlier, I'm endlessly fascinated by people who know more than me about stuff. I want to learn. I didn't stop learning when I finished school or university. I like learning new stuff. I get a buzz from it. I like discovering new stuff. I like working out how to do things. I like fixing stuff. I like being able to sort of do my own thing. And like, this is, I want to know how stuff works. And like, I might not have the ability to put this stuff together. I don't mind have the engineering or mechanical mind to do this stuff, like, from scratch. But when I'm watching someone who can, or when I'm in the presence of someone who can, who's explaining it to me, I'm in awe. I'm enthralled. And the way that people go, I'm a bit daft, so I hate everyone who's got a bit more intelligence. Thank you, darling. I've just been handed a fresh coffee. Thank you. Let's have a try of this. Ooh, it's got hazelnut in it. Thank you. She can't hear me. Hazelnut syrup. Oh, that's good. That's a good coffee. Anyway, ask a flat earther if they think the moon is round. It kind of short circuits. I don't think you should ask them anything. But I don't think it's a surprise that the advent of flat earthism, the modern advent in the last sort of 10 years or so, and that also happened at the same time as the denial of geography, the denial of reality. Don't like reality. Don't. And this is something that I've often said to people who come to my door, or come to my island in some cases, telling me to become part of their religion. I'm just like, I don't need it. I honestly, with all due respect, and I try to be as respectful as possible for other people's beliefs. I don't need it. This is enough for me. I'm on a planet that is orbiting a fucking nuclear furnace in the middle of the solar system. That is, it's just the right temperature for 8 billion squishy little humans to be running around. The natural world is endlessly fascinating. We know more about more about galaxies that are thousands of light years away than we do about the deep oceans of this planet of our own. This is enough for me. The fact that I'm made of stardust. We're all made of stardust, except for the hydrogen in you, which was made at the Big fucking Bang. There are atoms that make you, that are part of your body at the moment, that came into being 13.7 billion years ago at the moment of the Big Bang. The rest of you came from the heart of a dying star. There's the stars there. It's big gravity well. It's smashing these hydrogen atoms together, making helium, and then eventually there's not enough hydrogen to smash together to make helium, and the helium starts smashing together, and that starts making lithium and beryllium and boron and carbon and all the different atoms of the periodic table. The lead in your pipes came from the heart of a dying star. What a fascinating story. What about the fact that you represent an unbroken chain of reproduction going back to the very first spark of life on this planet? How about that? How about the fact that we're all related? You share common traits with a redwood tree, with a sea sponge, because we all come from the same DNA. We all come from the same thing. We all came from the same spark of life. Some of them went off and became plants. Some of them went off and became trees. Some of them went off and become sea sponges. Some of them went off and become elephants and hippos and whales and lizards and dinosaurs and birds. Endlessly fascinating. You could study this shit every second of every day of your lifetime. We're not here for long enough. It's enough for me. Thank you. Don't need extra stuff. Don't need superheroes in the sky. I don't need invisible sky wizards who decide whether I've been naughty or whether I've been nice once I'm dead. I don't care. I don't want that. I want after I cark it, I want jokes to be told, drinks to be drunk, and I don't want to suffer any inconvenience. I do not want to be asked after I'm dead why I did that thing when I was 14. I really don't. I can't even fucking remember that. Can you show it to me on a video and I'll watch it back and be absolutely mortified? Why'd you do that, Graham? I don't know. I was a twat back then, obviously. Well, sorry, mate. You got to go and burn in turmoil in hell forever. Seems a bit unfair, but okay. No, I'm a bit like Mark Twain in this respect. He said, is he scared of dying? He said, no, I was dead for billions of years before I was born, and it wasn't too inconvenient. But there you go. That's just me. Your mileage may vary. This is enough. This planet is fucking amazing. It is fucking fantastic. And even if you aren't able to go and personally go and see this shit for yourself, we have magic boxes. We have magic boxes with video, with footage, with sounds, with everything you could. We've got really big ones, big jumbo-sized boxes with these light images coming out so we can see the farthest reaches of the universe. We can see the bottom of the Marianas Trench. We can see the top of Everest. We can see all that stuff that we want to see. Might not be able to smell it, but, you know, it's almost there. We can live vicariously through other people's adventures. And this is what we're here for. A good time, not a fucking long time. And people going, oh no, this isn't enough. I want more. I want a deep and personal relationship with the inventor of the universe, please. I want to survive my own death. And I want to go to a lovely place and play a harp on a cloud for the rest of eternity, which is trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of years. Humans are very bad with big numbers. They're even worse with infinity, which kind of just blows people's minds because no one can imagine what a big number infinity is. Anyway, there you go. So that's just my take. That's just my take. Your mileage may vary. Anyway, so talking about just to finish off talking about the madness that is this deportation scam. You know, this scheme. You know, it's clear that Kemi Badenoch is she's for the knackers yard. You know, they got to put her out to pasture, so to speak. Cleverly, tugging hat. You know, even Oliver Dowden quietly preparing for, you know, her to get out and some leadership bids. I think Genovich's the guy who's probably going to take it, unfortunately. Yeah, you know, it's a deportation. This bullshit. It's emblematic, I think, of a party that has forgotten how to govern. The Tories haven't governed effectively for, I would say, probably. I hate austerity and I hate David Cameron and that little Nick Clegg motherfucker, but they did get stuff done. They did. They overhauled the education system, which I'm not happy about. They brought in austerity, which I'm not happy about. They brought in gay marriage, which I am happy about. You know, that was them. They did know how to govern. They didn't know how to get stuff done, and the Tories have lost that ability in the last few years, especially during the Brexit turmoil. They didn't know how to get it done. When they said they'd get Brexit done, they bodged it. They really badly bodged it, and we're still paying for it. And that's why our wages haven't gone up substantially, and yet a pint of lager now is like 14 quid. So yeah, empty slogans. That is, you know, that they're addicted to these. You know, stop the boats, take back control, stronger borders, blah 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 blah. And you know, they don't mean anything. And I think people are sort of, because there's an alternative now for the right wing votes that never used to be, but there is a serious alternative for the right wing vote now. Well, I say serious. I mean serious, like could take some serious votes off them. I don't mean they are serious people, because me fuckers are not serious people. Clearly, they're just spivs and chancers and grifters looking to feather their own nests. But yeah, this idea is just, you know, preposterous. The numbers don't make sense. The legal barriers can't be ignored. The moral void of it all needs to be looked at. And then the cost. You know, the average cost per deportation, according to the Home Office, I've got the figures here, from 2022, cost between £12,000 and £20,000 per deportation. So for 750,000 deportations, that's between 9 and 15 billion with a B operation. That's almost the size of the NHS capital budget, you know? Like, not the whole NHS, obviously that costs a lot more, but yeah. Jesus Christ, man. There you go. Far right fantasy. You know what else she said as well, before we go on to the papers quickly? She said that Britain is the only country in the world that is complying with the Paris Agreement. I'm like, first of all, we're not. we're not on track to meet our own legally binding net zero targets. Never mind anything agreed in the Paris Agreement. And And the climate change committee last year, or it might have been the year before, but they said that progress towards net zero had stalled across every sector. And she's pledging to scrap the Climate Change Act. You know, that's the leadership. That's awesome. That's what I mean. They don't know how to make anything. They don't know how to govern. They just know how to destroy stuff that's already there. Paula, thank you very much. In maths, there are at least two very different infinites, and they are very different. Well, thank you very much for that, Paula. Thank you for the super chat as well. Yes. I'm quite fond of Graham's number. Should we talk about Graham's number for a moment? Graham's number, which is a real number. It's an incomprehensibly vast number that serves as an upper bound for the solution to a problem in Ramsey theory. An incomprehensibly vast number. That's my number. It's named after me. Graham's number. But yes, it's got a whole Wikipedia page about it. So there you go. Connect each pair of geometric vertices on an n-dimensional hypercube to obtain a complete graph on n to the power n vertices. Color each of the edges of this graph either red or blue. What's the smallest value for n for which every such coloring contains at least one single colored complete subgraph on 4 coplanar vertices? There you go. And the answer is Graham's number. Or something, I don't know. I just found it one day I was cruising around on the Wikipedia, and someone said Graham's number, and I went, "Oh, that's an interesting thing that I should possibly look up." Did you make it up? Yes, it's incomprehensible. Chris C. Graham has spent the whole hour talking about Badenoch. Can we please change the record now? All right, Chris. Bloody hell, Jesus. I haven't. I've talked about logistics, and I've talked about God and life, the universe, and everything, microscopic beings to giants, to giant blue whales. So come on, it's the Tory party conference, so we've got to talk a little bit about this nonsense. But I'm just laughing at it. The collapse of the Tory brand, and this rise of authoritarianism in real time that we are experiencing right now. Not least with the Labour lot going, oh, we're going to stop people protesting. We're going to have new laws brought in. Our new Home Secretary decides we're going to have new laws to stop so many protests. We can only have a few protests. You've had enough protests today. That's it. You can't protest anymore. Anyway, so before we do that, we're going to go over to the papers. It's 12 o'clock. I better hurry up. We got Tony of Arabia, Jesus Christ, from the Iraq War to Gaza, Board of Peace. Blair returns to the Middle East. That's possibly not a great thing by any stretch of the imagination. The rise of comedians. Andrew Hankinson goes inside Joe Rogan's comedy mothership, the heart of the manosphere. Yes, it's a really grim thing. That it's this guy called Joe Rogan. He's a bald guy who does a podcast in America. Apparently, he was a comedian, but I've never heard him tell a joke. And he has this comedy thing, and it's anti-woke, and so it's people coming on going, black people, eh? Also, I'm going to do a little bit about the Saudi comedy thing that's happening at the moment in Riyadh, in the capital of Saudi Arabia, where they've paid these comedians, including Jimmy Carr, Bill Burr, and others, they've paid them millions of dollars to go over to do this comedy festival. I'm on the 7th anniversary of the horrific murder of Khashoggi, the Saudi Arabian journalist who was being critical of the regime. So they killed him with a bone saw in Turkey. 7th anniversary of that, they thought they'd have a comedy festival and people would go over to Saudi Arabia and tell some jokes. But you're not allowed to tell any jokes about the government of Saudi Arabia or the king of Saudi Arabia or, well, Prince. It's Prince Mohammed, isn't it? The Crown Prince or anyone else. Not allowed to tell jokes about them. A country where, famously they still murder people for being gay. There's still the state-sponsored murder of the gays. Yeah, that's a good place to have a comedy thing. They're getting the World Cup in a few years' time as well, because nothing says we don't care about morality like money. We'll go over to the Sunday Times here. Victoria Beckham, I was a control freak. Was Vicky? What was? Oh, my love. but we love it. You know, you want to be a control freak, that's fine. Hollywood is still super male, says Julie Roberts. She's absolutely right about that. Sophie and the surgeon who saves child rape victims. Duchess of Edinburgh with a toy gorilla, given to a tour to Benny in war-torn Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah, so I don't really know who the Duchess of Edinburgh is. I'm guessing her name is Sophie. I'm not sure. But you know, she's doing a nice thing there. I don't know why it's on the front cover. There you go, the royal family. We've got Christina Lamb from Kinshasa there reporting on that. We've got, I mean, look, good. Yeah, expose what's happening and talk about the use of rape as a weapon of war by the insurgent forces coming into Congo, into Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo from Rwanda, and being sponsored by these groups and the government of Rwanda. And yeah, we need to be talking more about that, especially when our government up till a couple of years ago, before the Tories got kicked out, we're talking about deporting people to Rwanda, a place where women are routinely sexually assaulted by a country that is sponsoring the sexual assault of women in the Democratic Republic of Congo. China spy trial scrapped days after top secret Whitehall talks. This is another terrible story. A Chinese spying case collapsed last month, days after Sir Keir Starmer's national security advisor held a top secret briefing that Beijing will not be deemed an enemy of Britain in the trial. So, you know, it's all right for the Chinese to spy on us. Because money! Why? Because money. Peaceful protest, violent views. Netanyahu, hostages free in days. And our Chinese car wants to play I Spy as a little cartoon in the middle there. We've got the Daily Fail on Sunday. Oh, it's not the Daily, it's the Fail on Sunday. You can win some condoms in a jar. And then more Labour sleaze. Weeks after she quit in disgrace, we reveal how Deputy PM's boyfriend is ferried around by a taxpayer-funded bodyguard in an £80,000 BMW, also paid for you. Okay. Raina is taking us for a ride. Shameless waste of public money after her taxpayer-funded bodyguard ferried her partner around in an £80,000 car. Well, if that's her car, like she was a deputy prime minister and like she was on a good wage, if that's her, what did we pay for the car? Do we have to pay Do we have to pay £80,000 every time she gets in the car? And yeah, they used. The officers helped Ms. Rayner's on-off partner, Sam Terry, move bags and boxes in a BMW between their two homes. Well, I mean, if people are going to attack her, well, doesn't it make sense that they might attack her family? I don't really understand what the problem... Well, I know what the problem is. It's the fucking Mail. They're not mentioning the fact that Nigel Farage's girlfriend bought a house in Clacton for over £800,000 cash when she was a waitress. Where'd she get the money from? And he didn't have to pay stamp duty because it was her first home. If Farage had bought it, then he would have been, you know, he would have had to pay stamp duty on it. But he didn't want to pay stamp duty because he doesn't like giving money to this country. He likes taking money from the Russians. NHS surgeons vile jab against chief rabbi after terror attack on synagogue. Whatever. Denise Van Outen, I was never harassed. Boss has had to rein me in. Denise Van Outen, privately educated, of course. She was allowed to be on TV. Meghan makes her mark. This is Meghan at the Paris Fashion Show, looking radiant there, looking awesome. And then we've got Badenoch. I'll deport 150,000 per year, which we talked about today. Secure UK borders plan, which include US Star removal force, which will cost billions. Starmer faces questions over advisor role in trial collapse, which we mentioned on the other newspaper. Hundreds of protesters held after defying calls to honour Jewish lives. Well, I mean, that's not why they were held. They were held for protesting for a prescribed group, which is Palestine Action. Now, you can protest against the actions of Israel, and you can protest for the people of Palestine and Gaza without having to actually support Palestine Action as an independent, as a different group. And I do think this is getting to a point now where it's ridiculous that we're in this situation, but also I think that some of this is performative, and I don't think that it's helping the people of Gaza. I don't think that little grannies getting arrested in Parliament Square is helping. I think what might help is if they didn't get arrested because they were just pushing for the people of Gaza rather than a prescribed group. And I know that it's mad that we don't know what it's prescribed for, but it is. So, just giving an old lady some fucking a criminal record is bonkers to me. But yeah, there you go. Paula, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. It's very kind of you. Frank Ramsey died at 26. Ramsey theory was the smallest of his contributions to mathematics and economics. His brother became Archbishop of Canterbury. Well, that's very interesting. Mathematics and religion there. I guess is that a bit like the Hitchens brothers, where Christopher was absolutely against religion and had some sensible ideas on some things, not on all things, but on some things. Whereas Peter's a fucking lunatic. Peter's a gobshite, isn't he? Peter Hitchens. Starmer faces questions over advisor role in unnecessarily hard Brexit would be a better headline. Thanks, Nick. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat, my friend. That is very, very kind of you, mate. I really appreciate that. I finally have the faculty to go from being a subscriber to a member. It's been terribly frustrating, but I got there in the end. Graham, we disagree on some things, but we agree on lots too. Yes, we absolutely do, my friend. And we that's not exclusive to me and Ivan. That's me and other people on the channel. This is me and other people who appear on this channel. Most supposed to be Phil, or Mikey, or someone who I'm quite happy to have a little bit of a ding dong with if we don't necessarily see eye to eye on everything. Of course, we're not going to. The important thing is respect, and thank you, Ivan, for being respectful over the years on this channel and everybody else who's on here. And that is the one thing that I want. Like I say, I don't necessarily want us all to agree on everything. I don't think we ever will. But having that respect and respecting people for who they are, and not making them feel shit. I don't want people to watch this show and feel shit. That's the last thing I want. So yeah. Anyway, and One Angry Pagan's ill. Get better soon, mate. Get better soon. Harry Flashman says, Pagan, I feel the same. Just had some tablets and orange juice. God old Harry Flashman there, you absolute cad. Not you personally, I just mean the character. Jesus Christ. I read the Flashman book, and I did read Royal Flash, but it was a long time ago, so I'm thinking of going back and reading that. I read Flash for Freedom, which is the third one. So I'm deciding whether to read the next Harry Flashman book or go back and read Royal Flash. One of the two. but you know what I love about travel? I start reading again. When I'm at home, I hardly read anything. I just don't feel like I've got time to read stuff. And I start doom scrolling and stuff. I shouldn't. I wish I'd just sit down with a book and read the fucking book instead of doom scrolling. It would be a better use of my time. And but when I'm traveling, I can't necessarily get the internet, so I can't necessarily doom scroll. So there you go. So yeah, gotta have a book. Don't go traveling without a book. Anyway, so let's go back to the Telegraph. Is it the Telegraph or is it the Times? It's Telegraph. Hundreds of protesters held after defying calls to honour Jewish lives. Hundreds of Palestine Action supporters were arrested in London yesterday after they defied calls to offer the Jewish community respite following the Manchester synagogue terror attack. This is the thing. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with people protesting against what's happening in Palestine at the moment. I do have a problem with people who should be protesting for that, but then they're going out and saying, no, but we're actually here for Palestine Action. I couldn't give a shit about Palestine Action. It's not the most important thing that's going on right now. The most important thing is we get peace in the Middle East and we stop the killing and we stop the bombing of these these buildings and these hospitals and these schools in Gaza. That's what we've got to stop. We've also got to get the hostages back as well. So yeah, if you're going to go out and protest against what Israel's doing, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I do have a problem with people going out at the moment, given what we know, protesting in favor of this prescribed group. Again, we don't know why they were prescribed, and all things being equal, I'd be like, well, people should be able to protest against that becoming a prescribed group. But I don't think that's the most important thing right now, and it does feel a bit performative. I'm sorry to say. I guess if I met someone, we'd probably agree on a lot of things. But someone who went on one of these protests, but at the same time, I don't know, how do they differentiate between people who are just marching or protesting against what Israel's doing and people who are actively supporting Palestine Action? I don't know how they decide that. I don't know how the police decide that. Reform smears are good for Tory, says Janet, whoever she is. Room service when a garage just won't do. So you park your car in your living room, I guess. I mean, just what the people are fucking weird. And then yeah, the lost world of in-flight dining. Okay. And yeah, I've just got to. I'm gonna have to leave this because it's just the stories are just too stupid. There's Man United there on the front cover of the Mirror. Go away, adverts. Synagogue attack horror. We stand united. Terror survivors send message of unity after killing. Survivors of terror attacks have joined forces to defeat extremism after the Manchester synagogue atrocity. So and then Vicky Patterson, whoever she is, she can't believe her luck. I can't believe your luck either, Vicky, whoever you are. Over here we have the Sunday People, which is the Mirror on Sunday. We have the celebs back, trophy hunting ban, and Ricky Gervais, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Michael Caine, Kate Winslet, and Judi Dench, and Joanna Lumley. The Stars demand end to cruel trade. Yes. And that's a really, really low res picture of a lion. Couldn't they got a better stock photo of a lion there for the people? We've got the Express over here. Tory ICE force would deport 150,000 a year. Bold plan to tackle migrants crisis based on US agency. Yeah, because it's gone so well over there. And there we have someone in a kilt, I think. And yeah, around 10,000 people. Oh, sorry, 100,000 people. No, God, I don't know. I'm gone all fucking dyslexic tonight. This numeric, whatever the word is for it. Around 1,000 people were at a rally in the capital. Police says arrests were oversubscribed of support of a prescribed organisation. Enough is enough, says police after hundreds arrested. Police claim they are exhausted after physically carrying many of the 440 detained Palestine Action supporters who gathered in London despite calls to cancel following the Manchester synagogue attack. Yeah, because here's the thing, right? Look, and I don't want to fall out over this, but as far as we know, and I know they're not telling us why, Palestine Action are a prescribed group. They're prescribed in this country, right? So we can't have people going out and protesting in favor of them because that's against the law. You might disagree with that law, but that is the law. And considering it was a terrorist attack on Thursday at the mosque in Heaton Park in Manchester, I think that if people were going to go out and do anything, I would have preferred to see a moment of reflection, maybe, where people sat down and lit candles for the victims of all of the horror that's going on. And then that's not support of a terrorist group after a terrorist attack. And yeah, I know we don't know why they're a terrorist group, but they are for whatever fucking reason. Do you know what I mean? Like I think like a peace vigil with people lighting candles and saying, look, people are dying on both sides, and this is causing violence in our society that we just don't need, because violence begets violence. You start from a violent place, you're just going to end up in more violence. Eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, and all that jazz. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone. And then we've got party lines, traces of cocaine found at Labour's student shindig. Cocaine was detected in the toilets at a private Labour Party event where several big-name MPs graced the stage. The drug tracers were found at a bash for hundreds of students attended by Johnny Reynolds and Emily Thornberry, pitchers on stage during last week's party conference in Liverpool. So just to explain, this particular party, I think, was held at the Camp and Furnace in Liverpool, which is quite a famous venue in Liverpool in the Baltic Triangle, and it's used as a venue for, like, you know, all kinds of stuff. They have gigs there. In fact, me and Phil had and Marina and Femi and Supertansky had our talk there a few years ago during the Labour Party conference. And it's a venue. It's a venue that has different things on every night. And if you're telling me that the bogs in a Liverpool club or venue has traces of cocaine in it, I am not going to be surprised. So that is like, to me, a huge non-story. It's like, well, what do you expect? It's a fucking club in Liverpool. Of course, there's going to be traces of cocaine. I'm more interested in the traces of cocaine that were found in the Houses of Parliament when the Tories were in power. I'm more interested in finding out more about them. When we follow that up, and my thing on this is I would say, right, we're bringing in the motion to legalize drugs, and if someone doesn't want to do it, we're gonna take a hair test and see if you've got any drugs in your system. I tend to find the people who don't want to, who are the most vocal about not legalizing drugs, tend to be drug heads themselves or former drug heads. As someone who's never been a drug head and never will be a drug head, I just take a step back and go, this is a mad system. This is an absolutely mad system. And Paula says, the association of protesting for Palestine with anti-Semitism is the problem. Yep. Yeah, but I that's what I'm saying. If they were going out and lighting candles for the lives lost in Gaza, or just saying, we're here for the people of Gaza, but I'm guessing if they had actual things saying Palestine action on them, we're here to support Palestine action. It's nuanced, I know, but yeah, it's yeah. We'll see what happens. I find the whole thing just so fucking depressing, to be honest with you. Just like, it's just so grim that here we are years and years later, after these prophets and messiahs and gods were roaming the planet, and we're still fighting over them. We're still fighting over who's got the best imaginary friend. Like, just leave people to it. Leave them to their own imaginary friend. Just, that's what they want to do. Let them do it. But taking their lives away, taking their freedom, taking their homes, taking their hospitals, taking their schools, it's just got to stop, hasn't it? Starmer has, this is Leanne, saying Starmer has been such a shitter bloke. He's outdone himself, really disappointing. Yeah, he has. I'm disappointed. Starmer. I wanted a steady hand on the tiller, but they've just made so many stupid mistakes and just missed so many open goals, and it's very frustrating watching from the sidelines. As a nominal supporter, I'm sitting there going, "Come on, guys, you could do this." But you never know. I might have made some contacts at the Labour Party conference, so maybe I can get our views heard a little bit more in the corridors of power. I don't know. Chris C says, I'm sorry, Graham, I have to disagree with you about legalising drugs. I've seen the damage drugs do to the lives and communities, especially Class A. I still think they should be illegal. Well, fine, mate. But then if we're going to have that conversation, then I think that we should also make falling in love with the wrong person illegal. Because that kills more people. That drives more people to suicide. That drives more people to violence. That drives more people to doing horrible things. That ruins more lives than drugs ever will, or gambling, or any of the other shit that humans do put together. Falling in love with the wrong person. I don't think you can argue with that. I'm afraid. If you're going to try and mollycoddle everyone and just make sure they don't do anything daft, I'd rather the $2 billion that we waste each week on fucking fighting the war on drugs and keeping all these people in jail for non-violent drugs offences. I'd rather that money was spent on teaching kids that drugs fuck them up. Thank you very much. I don't want it spent on, and at the moment, the drugs, we're never going to win the war on drugs. We're never, ever going to win it. Because there's always going to be a demand for it. There's always going to be knobheads going, I don't care where it comes from, as long as I get it. And while people are taking ketamine and cocaine and heroin, they're fueling these the misery of people living in Bolivia, living in Afghanistan, living in Mexico and Colombia, where these drug gangs get their money from the West. They get their money from our countries, and I want them to stop getting the money from our countries. And we could do that if we made it so that people could get drugs that were clean, and you get a dose that's not going to make you overdose, and you get a clean needle. It's not mixed with any other shit. It's not you don't put baking powder in there or or soap powder. You don't mix that in. And like, this is for me why we really, really need to legalize it and regulate it and make it so that people aren't dying and people aren't killing each other. These county lines gangs, they're fueled by Drugs is the cheapest and most easiest and most effective way of making loads of fucking money. Deal drugs. It's the least likely to get you banged up. You know, what are your choices? Burglary, that's difficult these days. Everyone's got a fucking Ring doorbell. You know, you maybe your diamond heist now and again. That only comes up once every few years. That the possibility to do that, and it's a high risk operation. If you want to make enough money to buy a shit fucking BMW, and you live in a shitty estate in North Liverpool, and drug dealing is a great way to make that fucking money. It's completely morally abhorrent, and the people who buy the drugs and the people who sell the drugs are just as bad as each other. But look at the attitude that we have. We hear someone's been murdered, we go, oh, that's awful. And then we hear they're a drug dealer, and we go, oh, well, that's not as bad. How horrible is that? So no, I'm sorry. I know they cause problems, and I know that they could fuck people's lives up, but I think that the fact that they're illegal fucks them up more lives. They fuck up the lives of the farmers in Bolivia who have to watch their daughters being raped in front of them and then shot in the head by drug dealers because the farmer is refusing to grow their coca leaves in their farm. The women who are used as drug mules who have to swallow 100 condoms filled with drugs to take them across, through the scanning machines at the airport and stuff like that. One of those condoms breaks inside them, they fucking die of a drugs overdose. What do the drug dealers do at the other end? They fucking cut them open and take the drugs out. The misery, the absolute misery, and the criminality and the fucked up shit that goes on in this world because drugs are illegal drives me up the fucking wall. And we don't have that with Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's not a great fucking company, and they do some shitty things, and they say people aren't employed by Coca-Cola when they are, and we can talk about shit things they've done, but on a global scale, the drug dealers and drug dealing and the illegality of drugs and Nixon's failed war on drugs causes 10 times more suffering than the drugs alone would do. And yeah, I mean, if 2 billion a week more to spend on helping people, I think would be a great amount of money. It would be a great start. Spend it on mental health support so people don't feel like they've got to take drugs in order just to feel normal. That'd be nice. But also, there's a class element to this as well. Just like the rich can afford cocaine, whereas the rest of us might not be able to afford it. I don't know. I don't know how much it costs these days. Never done it, never will. But yeah, I think also there's the point that alcohol can kill people. Alcohol's killed 2 of my friends. It's legal. I don't want it to be made illegal, but I would like there to be more support there. If we stop wasting money pissing it up the wall trying to stop drugs coming into the country, which we're never going to stop, then I'm sorry, you're not going to win me over on this. Well, I've been saying for years that drugs should be legalized, and the fact that the Parliament don't even fucking want to talk about it speaks volumes. The only people that are helping at the end of the day is the drug dealers themselves, who are making a fucking mint. And yeah, we'll take out some cartel, in one place in Mexico or in Colombia, and another one just takes its place instantly like that. People need their drugs. People are going to take them. When we made betting legal, it destroyed a lot of organized crime gangs. Business models ineffective. Yeah, Paula, same would happen with drugs. If you think drugs and the social impacts are bad, wait until you find out about cars and the pharmaceutical industries. Yeah, Jez, you're right. But I mean, the cars are legal, pharmaceutical industry is illegal, and they're regulated to some extent. You're not supposed to drive a car unless you're licensed, unless you pass your test, unless you've got insurance for your car. You're not supposed to fucking drive it. We have regulation at the moment. It's the Wild West with drugs because it's not legal. So everything is done underground, which is why America distinguishes between crack and powder cocaine. Both as bad, but more white people used powder. Yeah. Chibs, you're absolutely right. There is a social aspect to this. There's a racial aspect to it as well. And yeah, in countries where they have legalized drugs or decriminalized them, like in Portugal, in Switzerland, they've had phenomenal responses, and fewer people are dying from. No one's dying from drug overdoses now, from heroin overdoses in Switzerland, because you can get it from a clinic, and fewer people are starting to take heroin because it's not sexy anymore. It's just a bunch of sketchy old fucking junkies waiting outside a clinic at 7 o'clock on a Monday morning. Need me hit, and the kids are going past on the school bus and going, "That's not sexy. That's not cool." It's about as cool as like people in the old folks' home, queuing up to get their fucking cup of pills. Oh yeah, wow, we'll be part of that scene. Yeah, ooh. Make it unsexy. Make it unsexy. It's what they should have done with cigarettes. I mean, I know they hide them behind the counter now, but the packets are like and the green and no, that's not enough. You have to make the packets look horrible, not just with a horrible picture of someone's diseased lung, but I mean actually make them offensive to the eyes. And you don't do that with one color. You've got to mix two colors that do not mix, and you've got to use Comic Sans as the font. That's it. No matter what cigarette you're selling, you have to use Comic Sans, and you have to use these two ridiculous colors that do not complement them each other in any way, shape, or form. And that's got to be your fag packet. It's got to look really shit. So I just did it again. If it wasn't demonetized already, I am now. Anyway, you got an extra half an hour of me because obviously I wanged on about Kemi Badenoch too much. Sorry. Ian McKenna. They would make laughing at Trump illegal. Yes, they would. Which is, yeah. But yeah, I do absolutely agree. Yeah, Chibs saying that good luck with that to everyone who supports prohibition of any substance. Yeah. Let's make it legal. Just, don't make it so that anyone can sell it. Make it so it's a well-regulated system where you have clinics, specialist clinics that can distribute this stuff, and that is just the way it's done. That is just the way it's done. Like what they do in Portugal, where they've seen violent crime go off a fucking cliff. It's not worth killing each other over, And it's not like other crime goes up because drugs suddenly are available to people who desperately want them, and also it helps with getting off the drugs. Because people use methadone and other substances to try and wean them, legal substances to try and wean them off these drugs. But the best way to wean people off drugs is to use the drugs themselves in smaller quantities and give people that support that they need in order to get off those drugs. So 2 billion a week, I would rather that was spent. I would rather half the population of the prisons in this country were released for their non-violent drugs offences that they're banged up for at the moment. And I would like to see that money, $1 billion of it, spent on teaching kids that drugs are bad, and the other, or the consequences of getting addicted to this stuff, and the other, and gambling, and sex, and alcohol, and all the other mad shit that people get fucking addicted to. And also the other $1 billion we can spend that on helping people who are addicted, who want to stop their addiction, whether it is to drugs or whether it is to alcohol or gambling, or whatever. Putting those support in place instead of wasting. We're essentially just burning 2 billion a year, 2 billion a week, 2 billion a week. It is just burning it. Throwing these used fivers into a well, setting it on fire. Had Farage been the original Marlboro man, cigarettes wouldn't have taken off, says Nick. And he says, regulated with tax to support those who find difficulties. It's seen as a moral failure, not a biological side effects. Yeah. I agree. And this idea that the moral failure argument, I hate that. I just people get sad, people get angry, people's brains don't always work in the same way, and it's not for me to judge how they deal with stuff that's going on in their lives. Most people just try and make the best of a bad situation. And if facilities are not available to you, and mental health, fucking hell, that's not available to people. And I know a lot of people who have now been diagnosed with ADHD who, in their younger days, would take drugs left, right, and fucking centre, drove me up the fucking wall. But I guess that was their way of dealing with their ADHD. My way of dealing with my ADHD was just, making a big list of countries and going to them. Anyway, right, so it's 12:30 now. So thank you very much for joining us on this morning brew, which has now become an afternoon brew. Afternoon, everybody. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sticking with the channel through thick and thin, obviously. So that over the summer and through September, it wasn't as constant as it normally is. I might do a show tonight, but if not, I will definitely be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock, with you for Morning Brew, and then tomorrow evening, if possible, we'll be doing a first episode of Stateside in a while, and there's a lot to talk about over there. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll say thanks for your lovely chat. Thanks for everyone for staying civil and respectful, even when we don't agree on everything, and that's fine. It's fine. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who dropped a super chat in. Thank you so much, and a big shout out to Ivan for finally becoming a member of the channel. It's allowed him to become a member, which is fantastic. So thank you very much to Ivan. Thank you very much to everyone out there. And until next time, I'll say give us a like on the way out. Hello, good evening, welcome, and